Hi, I'm Craig the geologist, and I'm at
the Pingshanhu Grand Canyon
in
Zhangye, Gansu Province.
Near the Gobi Desert. Actually, I think technically in the Gobi Desert, just at the edge of Inner Mongolia in
China.
So this is not all that grand of a canyon here. However, this is just one small canyon within a larger network of canyons. And we're going to take a look at some of the rocks here, learn a little bit about conglomerates and sandstones.
Now, while the flood deposited units of the Pingshanhu Canyon are pretty awesome, as are the amazing slot canyons, a big part of the adventure is just getting down into the canyon itself. It's fairly death-defying, and so I feel like we need to go back and have a little look at how I got in there.
I hope we make it. These brakes don't sound very good. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's not a true adventure unless you're worried you might die. Oh my goodness. Nothing like it being on a windy, death-defying track in a truck that barely has brakes. There are metal posts along the road, so hopefully that'll stop us. Oh goodness. It's a little bit worrying, isn't it? Yeah, that's really beautiful. Oh, you know how I said the rain is done? I can see it's actually still raining. Hey, family. How are you sleeping through this, man? Oh my goodness. I didn't wake you up full of nonsense. Oh, it's like the kind of roller coaster that hurts my back. Oh, goodness. Oh, jeez. Holy that's gorgeous. We got some living structures. Here we are. We survived it. Sorry, buddy. I should have had a smaller lunch today.
I really did owe that camel an apology. While I'm not by any means obese, I'm certainly heavier than the average Chinese tourist, and that camel had a really hard time getting to its feet. If you ever visit Pingshanhu for yourself, you really have two options for visiting. Number one, everybody takes a bus in along the top of the canyon and gets the big grand overlooks. But if you're adventurous, you can buy a second ticket, ride that terrifying little open top truck down into the canyon, and down at the bottom, there is a camel ride deeper in. Now, is the camel ride necessary for getting to where you're going? No, but it is fun. And following that, you have a short walk, and then you're on a camel carriage ride, which is also unique. Necessary? No, but fun? Yes. I will point out that this section of video is extremely disorienting if you're trying to figure out whether the camera's tilted or not. Because number one, riding on a camel is hard to get the camera level. But if you'll notice in the distance, those rocks are all tilted and dipping down to the left. And so if the camera is oriented correctly, all the rocks look like they're sloping. And if you got the rocks looking like they're flat, the camels look like they're about to slide down a hill.
Looking good, dude. I will somewhere else. If I try to do it here, I'm gonna get rushed. But these are some huge clasts. These are ginormous. These are real flood deposits. Let's just get a little look at some of the clasts in this. I mean, this is a chunky conglomerate. Holy cow. I mean, these are big. This was a heavy duty stream bed or a massive flood. Whew. Not to get too technical, but them are some chunky rocks. And not everything is equally chunky here. You can see in between the more energetic flood deposits, you have conglomerates with much smaller class sizes. So you get a good sense of just how energetic the water was from the size of the class in it. Hugely energetic, less energetic. Well, here's a nice example of the variability in these conglomerates. Look at the size of those clasts there. But it's mostly surrounded by much finer grained sands. You come up here, you get mostly fine grained sands with a little bit of gravel. And then what do we have up here? Ooh, we got a big flood deposit right up there. And then we come up here and look at these rocks. It's gonna get sunny, so it might mess with the video a little bit, but it becomes kind of medium grained conglomerate again. Not too crazy. Come back down here, have a look at this. This is a beautiful one here. Look at the diversity of clasts in that. That's pretty. Very coarse grained sands and small to medium sized gravels. Then we come down here and we get fine grained sands with huge cobbles, huge clasts. Very interesting.
Easy to fall, easy to slide, easy to slip. Right, Betty?
Mm-hmm. Also very much against the rules of the park. Also, I don't want you to be dead. See, we got several reasons for not having you climb here.
Daddy, I found one of the thing with the Buddha statue inside.
You did.
It's a little one.
I choose to believe a little gnome lives in there.
I believe I found me a Buddha.
We have here some conglomerates. We see some color in the layering there. It's not very consistent. It peters out very quickly. Little lenses of various material there. We have some pretty decent sized cobbles mixed in. Most of the material is pretty small. But then we come down here and it gets real chunky. And yet, just below it, pretty fine grain, just a little bit of very tiny gravel and more stuff. So we're seeing those alternating storm flood deposits and deposits left during calmer times in the river, or in the floodplain rather, perhaps. What we're likely seeing is a large floodplain here, and the finer grain stuff are just less energetic floods. And the crazy stuff here is when you had the area turned into basically rapids. And it takes a lot of energy to move material like that.
The cable. As he flies on the cable.
On a camel carriage ride. Oh, you got a camel jam.
哎呀，没事的。
Not too many visitors today.
I gotta say though, when you're on a camel carriage ride, 50% of your view is camel butt.
Daddy, look, I'm looking out.
With our camel journeys complete, I'm now going to venture into the slot canyons solo.
Gotta say, sometimes China is weird. I am not entirely sure what's going on here. Not sure how necessary that was for the experience in this canyon. This being China, there is rarely truly a quiet location or a vista that's free of electronic devices or infrastructure of some kind, but you enjoy what you can here. Quite a beautiful canyon. Absolutely gorgeous.
好的。对。他俩就是下雨了，那个水全哗啦流下来，就把沙子。哎，那个，他说这骑楼。
I'm going to refer to these canyon walls as sandstone cliffs, even though they are predominantly conglomerate. You can see a lot of cobbles and clasts all mixed in. However, the dominant material in this rock is sand, and it's not all conglomerate all the way up. There is plenty of sandstone mixed in, so if you hear me referring to all of this as sandstone and you're seeing cobbles, there's your explanation of why. That, by the way, is not a real tree. That is a security camera that is not very well disguised. The canyon walls are red due to oxidized iron in the sand. There's a lot of iron in the sand. That's a common thing to get in sandstones in arid regions. Your sandstones are very often red. You get that out in Utah and Arizona a lot. And here in China, you get that as well. I have come to the conclusion during my travels in China, and this is my 4th time here, that there is nothing Chinese people love listening to in nature more than pre-recorded messages played through a loudspeaker. If you do visit China, be prepared to have your serenity interrupted by the echoing sounds of pre-recorded instructions that you probably can't understand.
So here I'm entering the actual slot canyon at Pingshanhu. There are probably lots of slot canyons in the area, but this is the one that us tourists are allowed to enter. Pingshanhu markets itself by several different slogans. One of which is China's Colorado Canyon, which I guess is referencing the canyons of Utah and Arizona along the Colorado River. Although if you're comparing this to the Grand Canyon or Canyonlands, it's not really measuring up. But still a beautiful place. It also marks itself as China's Antelope Canyon, which if you've seen photos from Antelope Canyon in Arizona, this doesn't really measure up to that either in terms of the beauty, but it is a pretty awesome slot canyon in the same vein.
Okay.
One-handed with a selfie stick? That ain't gonna happen.
All right, I had to lose my backpack for this. This is getting pretty narrow in here. This, for those of you who are unaware, is a slot canyon. I bet you can't guess why it's called a slot canyon. Holy cow, that is a tight squeeze. And this is where I came up. I had to take off my backpack to squeeze through there, and I wasn't climbing up that with a selfie stick. So I kind of came back here to show it off, but dang, This is just barely as wide as my phone on the selfie stick here. This is pretty crazy. You get slot canyons like this when torrential flooding rain cuts its way through soft rocks. And these are indeed soft rocks. I'm not sure if I can get it through here while wearing my backpack. Oh, look out. Okay, I'm crawling. I'm on my hands and knees. Oh, yeah. This would be easier without a selfie stick. Y'all better give me some views for this. Holy cow. Whew. Made it through with most of the skin on my knees. Oh, well, have a look at that. That isn't lichen or algae. That is a deep red layer of sand running semi-continuously through the unit. Very interesting. Just below it, you got some larger cobbles, some finer gravel. Above it, you've got more conglomerate, but that's a very fine and fairly uniform, deep red sand. Now, why that sand is such a deep red color and the surrounding sands are not, I don't know off the top of my head. And you know what? I'm not ashamed to admit that. I can tell you what makes it red. What makes it red is the iron content. That is a deeply iron-rich sand. That is almost a hematite sand. But why is that little strip so iron-rich compared to the rest? I couldn't really tell you. It's possible that the sand there is so fine-grained that it did a better job of binding to the iron than the surrounding coarser units. I don't know that that's true. But as a geologist, off the top of my head, that feels like a very reasonable explanation. See if you can spot the security camera. Oh, it looks like I'm gonna have to put my selfie stick away for this. This seems like a dangerous thing to do one-handed. Although maybe, just maybe, how high is it? Oh, well, that's real high. Let's have a look up there. Yeah, I'm gonna put this away. Goodness. Oh, this is an adventure. Okay, that climb was insane. It took us all the way out of the slot canyon. But let me show you. All right. That is just the top quarter, maybe top third of the total distance we came up, because there's a little walkway down there and a much longer ladder right over there. Holy cow. That's a climb. Whew. Lots of beautiful rocks to look at on the way up. Lots of time to look at it as I pause to catch my breath periodically. But definitely no option to record there. Holy cow. Let's keep going. I'm pretty sure my wife and son are waiting for me somewhere. You know, I was supposed to bring my 6-year-old son out here on this climb. And I'm glad I didn't. Well, we were going to. I'm actually quite glad that a worker stopped us and said no one under the age of 12 is permitted on this trail, because this would not have gone well. Oh, I could barely handle this. This is a trail better suited to folks in their 20s. Whew. Exciting though. Let's pause and look at rocks again. And also, let's take a moment to appreciate this beautiful patterning on here. This is left behind by rainstorms. The rain washes mud down the sides of the cliff faces, and the mud deposits in these intricate patterns that can be really beautiful. In fact, it was raining just an hour or two ago, so some of this could be incredibly new. Here you see a mix of cobbles and gravels of every size. Now in geology, we talk about sorting when it comes to sedimentary rocks. And the sorting refers to the grain size or the pebble, gravel, cobble size. If it's well sorted, it means everything is uniform. Medium sorting is, pretty well sorted, but you get a lot of stuff jumbled up still. And poorly sorted is everything's all jumbled up. So you can see up here, this is very poorly sorted. You get fine muds, sands, gravel, cobbles, stuff the size of my fist. Let's come down here. And here we have a layer that's not too badly sorted. Got a much more uniform layer there. Now this appears to be more of a lens. A lens is a layer that kind of tapers off at either end, because if you look over here, what we were looking at really just disappears. And over here, kind of does the same. Lensing is very common in river environments. Now, this sign is telling me I shouldn't be pausing to film here. Let's keep moving. I think this is the end of it. That was fun. And now we just got some stairs to go up. A gorgeous view of this Grand Canyon area. I believe I'm in the center of it because I think if I go a little bit higher, I will see just as much, if not more, on the other side of the ridge I'm on. If you hear annoying Chinese chirpy sing-song talking in the background, like I said, there's nothing Chinese people love more than hearing pre-recorded messages.
This is what the other side of the canyon looks like, by the way. It's a still image because this overlook was early in the trip and I wasn't filming content yet, but it's gorgeous on every side. Thank you for joining me at Pingshanhu Canyon to learn a little bit about sedimentary rocks, conglomerates, flood deposits, even sediment sorting. And of course, we explored a slot canyon together. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.